so you saying, what is masculinity? Oh, male type trait. That's really not telling you what masculinity is. Mm-hmm. Because what are male type traits? Do we hold in our emotions? Do we not cry when we get into a situation? Do we not get upset when our kids do things, but where the women would? Like, so when you say masculinity, for me, I have a problem with that because we're using a word that was defined by people who have no idea of how the human body works or elevates. So, but if you're talking about what Europeans perceive as masculinity, that's the I'm a man's man, or I'm an alpha male, or I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. There's definitely a attack on men being the dominant species.
This is the journey. This is your moment. It's about time for us to get right. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Welcome to the cave, the Mancave, where we parlay, better on self. You're invited to the private conversations that happen inside while they outside sleepwalking. This is the apprenticeship. All of our guests on the show are here to share their journeys to becoming a master. So humble yourself and tap in. Come parlay in the Mancave. Welcome to another episode of Mancave Parlays, a guide to mastery. You know, yes. A wise man knows that he knows nothing. The day we feel like we can't learn anymore is the day we officially sign our death date. So I plan on living a long time. Today, we have the mentor, my mentor. You get what I'm saying? This man was a disciplinarian.
A great man.
Great man. Kids he don't know, I watch them talk to him, get their minds right, leaving an impact. I'm talking about you see them driving, or if he driving late at night and he see someone he care about walking on the street, he'll pick you up, he'll give you the clothes, shirt off his back. I'm talking about this man took me in when I needed a male figure in my life, helped steer me away from the people that was aiding in my demise. This man, he reads, he can write, he's a great thinker, you get what I'm saying? He explores, he travels this round. Welcome to Mancave Parlays. This is KB Kev Senior.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having me. And that was a great introduction, my nephew. I really appreciate that.
That was well spoken.
No, thank you. That's what we try to do. So, starting off, I want you to give the people a little background on you. Like one of the first things that I saw that drew me into you early on is me just seeing how you just handled your responsibility. You ain't run from anything. You took care of your kids. You get what I'm saying? You never made an excuse. And you was one of the first men who I would see that would cook, be the primary cook in the household. You get what I'm saying? But I know that you got to credit that to having to raise your little brother up early. And I know a lot of older siblings is met with the task, and especially men, is met with the task of having to be the man of the house, quote unquote. And I just want you to share if that's like a good thing or a bad thing to just strip away a child's innocence so early.
That question is has so many different levels to it, the way it can be answered. Mm-hmm. But one thing I will say is, in my era, during my time, a lot of the parents were put in situations that they couldn't control. We were given, our people were given the bottom of the tier jobs, whereas though we was only making, we were making less than minimum wage. And the only way that a lot of our families could survive was if the mother went on social service. But one of the criteria for being on social service is the man could not be in the house. Mm-hmm. So what you did was you removed the male head hold, the head of the house. You removed them from the house, and then you caused women to raise children. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us snuck in. They would send social workers out to do spot checks to see if the man was there. And if they found out that you did have a man living in the house, they cut your services. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't survive. So the setup was from the beginning when they said, we'll provide services to you if you kick your man out of the house. So what happened was you had a lot of women that were raising men and children on their own. Then the fathers got the stigma of being deadbeat dads and not being around. They couldn't be around because if they was around, you're paying him $1.75 an hour, and social service is willing to give you $4 an hour. The two don't compare.
Yeah.
May I ask you what year? Not to cut you off.
So this you talking the 70s, 60s, and 70s. I was born in 1972.
Okay.
And during this time, and I don't know if you ever watched the depiction like Good Times and all that,
Yeah,
like around that era.
Classic.
That's why for James to be in the house on Good Times was such a revelation for black families. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, James Evans Sr. is who I tried to model myself after as I was becoming a man. Why? Because my father was not in my household. I didn't have a father in the household. So I used to watch Good Times, and I saw this strong black man who ain't take shit from nobody. He stood up for his kids. Lord forbid you did something to his wife. And he went to work and he worked hard every day.
Yeah, every day.
Every day. And that's what I put myself behind. So when I say when you talk about the single families and you talk about the man not being in the household, that was by design. That was by design, and we didn't have a choice.
Absolutely.
We didn't have a choice.
So it kind of so the government kind of aided in, especially in our culture.
Not kind of, they did.
Yeah, they aided in the demise of having a 2-parent household for us, and they throw government programs and assistance and stuff like that, so that mothers would get the benefit and seek the benefits of being like a single parent.
So check this out. I'm on some real shit. Check this out. So welfare wasn't designed for us.
At all.
Welfare was designed for white families during war times when the man was gone away to fight war and the women had no skills, because back then they didn't let the women work. They couldn't go to school. They couldn't do anything. So when you drafted and you sent all the men over to war, you had a bunch of women at home that could not provide for themselves. So they were given welfare. There was no stipulation saying your man couldn't live in a house or you couldn't be married. No stipulation. It's when the recession was over and the poor white people became not as poor white people, but then the slaves became free, and then we started establishing and needing things. All of a sudden the government started putting stipulations on stuff.
Always.
Oh, the man can't be in the house. You can't do this. Yeah. You can't do that. But when they was getting welfare, that never came up.
It's a free game.
Yeah, so it was by design. It was by design to hold our people down, to stop our greatness.
Right. So how do you view? So we on them topics of that. How do you view in this day and age, in the modern times of women being able to make as much as a man has and things of that nature? How do you feel about government assisted programs as it relates to still crippling our people to this day? Is it I guess what I'm trying to say is it more so of a thing of you wanting those benefits so you don't want to have that type of household because you just want to live off of welfare and those benefits, or do you feel like it's excuses and you have the opportunity to do more for yourself now if you still living in those government assistant type of situations?
So I'm a firm believer that when you know better,
good question,
you do better. But if you don't know better, you're gonna keep doing what you've been doing. And the sad part about
how don't they know better with all the resources and stuff now?
Because I believe some people love to live in their ignorance. It's easy to be ignorant.
But you don't know. See, here's the thing. Like, I work with a lot of kids, right? And one of the things I run a youth work program on my job. And when the kids come in, I put them through my own orientation. I let youth work shit. Yeah, that's fine. But I sit there and I tell them, and one of the first things I tell them to do is I say, you're going to open a bank account. I'll take you and help you open a bank account. I said, so when you get your check, you can deposit it into your account. And it's all your money. There's no fees or anything. Yeah. And they like, what you mean? Now I go down on Pennsylvania and Greenmount to get my stuff done on North and Greenmount. Yeah. Or North and Pennsylvania. It turned into a Kentucky Fried Chicken, but it's a check cashing spot right there. And I'm like, do you realize every time you cash your check, they taking money that you work for, that's your money?
Real shit.
And it was like, Yeah, but they taking $12 and I'm taking home $172. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to them and I'm like, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
That's the ignorant mind.
Exactly. And then the thing is, but I had that same ignorant mind.
I get what you're saying.
I grew up, my mom dropped out in elementary school. My mother was going to Roland Park and ran into my father, who was a military guy, and got her pregnant when she was only 14 years old, and she had me when she was 15. So my mom had a limited education.
Yeah.
And, like, the things that, like, she just didn't know a lot of stuff.
I get you.
And it took for me to go through what I went through with her and not having a father, and then I had great men that stepped into my life and showed me stuff that I'm like, what? Really? Like, I swear, it's like it was a whole different world. Like, I had friends that turned me on and stuff, yo. I never had any friends that had 2-parent household.
Yeah.
Until I got a little older and I ran into my boy Day. And I met his father and his mother. And I saw a parenting successful story of 2 parents living together, raising kids, loving each other. And that changed my mind and said, this is what I want.
This is what I want, yeah.
This is what I want. They own houses, they own the property. But me being in the hood, living down on Eden and Gold, I never saw that. Only thing I saw was the drug dealers, the Miss Peaches that lived on the corner. She owned the house, and I'm thinking like, well, maybe one day I can own this house. And I'm thinking that's a success story, and it's not. But it's because I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. But once I was exposed to being blessed by the job that I have, and I'm meeting successful men, and I'm conversing with these men, and they respecting me, and I'm like 21 years old, and they respecting my opinion, made me feel like, oh, I belong. I was like, wait a minute.
You an anomaly.
Yeah, I'm like, I belong. I'm like, okay, you know, my mother raised me to be the way I am, and I can do this. But I didn't know it until I had the opportunity and experience.
Right.
And most of our kids, which is the reason why I do one of the things, like, one of my biggest things is about mentoring and working with underprivileged or the next generation. Because without that, I don't think I would have been here. Like, if it wasn't for the Mr. Gibsons and the Mr. Johnsons and the Tyrone Mercers, if it wasn't for them old heads pulling me under their wing,
I always say that,
showing me a different way,
I
don't think I would be here.
Yeah.
And for me, I honestly believe that the reason why I'm here and the reason why I went through what I went through is for me to be able to do that for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation.
And you doing it.
And I use every power that I have to help out the youth coming up any way I can. Any way I can. And I don't believe in none of that. Listen, they've been doing this for hundreds of years. They've been doing this for hundreds of years. That's why somebody as dumb as Donald Trump can become the president. No, seriously, because he had daddy money. I watched the interview with this dude, and he said some crazy shit like, well, you know, I borrowed my first $1 million from my father and started a business and it flopped.
And it failed, yeah.
And it's like, yo, do you realize, most of the kids in the hood, most kids in the hood will never see $1 million.
Never.
No shit.
And this dude like, oh, my business flopped, you know, hey, whatever.
It was a learning. He was able to have a learning curve with
exactly. $1 million. And because his father was established and was there for
that shit away.
Because he had the
experience.
experience.
Real quick.
Yes, sir.
So, Roc had this conversation before plenty of times, and dudes, I want to ask you about this. We was talking about even like with a father. Like, I grew up with my pops. I grew up with my mother and father in the house. Like, my pops ain't moved out till I probably like 23, 24 type shit. You feel me? But I remember when, you know, we was playing football together, shit, you would drop my ass off at every football practice, football games and all that shit.
We are proud of.
Yeah, no, real shit. And I always say, you know, like, with my kids and my sons, like, my oldest son got a stepfather. Then I'm old enough and mature enough to know, like, it takes more than one man to raise a kid anyway, more than, let alone a son.
It's a village.
So, you feel me, I look up to my coaches and my Mr. Gibsons and Johnsons and shit like that. So, even to bring you into it, y'all niggas can't see Deuce. But even that, though, like, even though your pops, I remember you was telling me when I asked you this question when we was kids about, how long your pops been married and all that shit. He was like, yo, I don't never remember my pops disrespecting my mother, none of that shit. Yo, we always been respectful and all that shit. And I always think about that shit. So even though like you always looked up to your pops, did you ever have other male like male role models and shit, like not role models but figures, I guess that is.
My father, my grandfather, my stepfather. I get different role models doing different paths of my life.
Real
like
shit.
now, my mentor and like my big brother that I listen to other than my father is the one you always see me post with.
Real shit.
Say.
Yeah.
Like, so it depends. My Uncle Scott, his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it depends on where I'm at in my life. So, yeah, you definitely can have different role models.
Yeah, it could even be like as simple as like coaches that you encounter.
Coach,
which a lot of people have coaches, right? Who have coaches who was their like only male figure in their life. You get what I'm saying?
But I'm a from an old head perspective, I'm gonna put you onto some real shit though. It's not even coaches and Coach Thomas and this and that. The real issue is you got to surround yourself with a peer group that's willing to hold each other accountable.
Yes, sir.
And see, that's the problem. Like we're being a group, and you're married, and y'all go out, and y'all see him pulling chicks and fucking with chicks, but every Sunday y'all sitting here with him and his wife having dinner and y'all being cool with it.
Yeah.
Like, yo, when we as a peer group start holding each other accountable, that's when the real work start happening, because you don't need an old head to say, you know you wrong. Right. But the problem is your group is allowing you to do it. So it's like, it's okay. Yeah. This is what we do. No, that's not what
what we do.
You got to start holding each other accountable. Like, yo, bruh, nah, man.
And you should want friends like that.
And we all got to be friends like that.
Yeah. You need
and the thing is, y'all getting to that age where y'all going to see it. Right. When you young, like you said, you looking for old heads to look out for your unks and all this and that. But believe it or not, yo, the people that mean the most to you is your peer group.
Real shit.
And when your peer group holding you down,
y'all coming up together, y'all becoming men together,
and letting you know, all of a sudden you start thinking different. Like, yo, nah, I can't be doing this, man.
Right.
Real shit.
Because you putting your peoples in bad situations. They know you cheating, and then they coming and they conversing and dealing with your significant other.
But everybody cannot handle those type of friendships where, I have a large friend group, so I know the ones who I go to, I could build. The ones I go to if I feel like I'm in a mood where I want to go out, and the ones who I invite over if I know we about to just chill kick it,
party, whatever.
And we just about to talk about conspiracies or
like
education and how the world could be better and stuff like that. And it's just some who doesn't always take, like, they know when they come to me, they like, dang, you had to go talk to Roc. Like, that's the thing in my circle. They be like, dang, you had to go talk to Roc. I know you in trouble, because they know I'm gonna hold them accountable. I'm not always gonna come to me when you ready to hear the truth, because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you, because I want you to be better. Because every day I think about something I did that could have been better the previous day, and I want to be better going forward, especially now having a child. You get what I'm saying? Where most of my friends is now at in that life, where we got kids, it's like someone looking up to you, and they look at you like Superman. They don't know that you got faults and flaws and stuff like that. Like, they still innocent. That's so we got to set examples for them.
You're 100% correct. I agree.
I should have did it backwards because I don't get a promo for
I agree. I agree, but like I said, accountability within your circle mean the most, man. You know, it's good to have mentors and all that, and
real shit though.
And I'm gonna do that until the day when they close that casket. I really truly believe God put me here to bring the next groups to keep throwing that rope over the fence until I can't throw it over the fence no more. And I'm gonna keep throwing it on the fence and bringing people over. And I had great examples.
I was about to ask who do you credit for when you was in your apprenticeship growing up?
So I'm gonna tell you the one man that probably did the most for me was Wavy Gibson, who was my 9th grade chemistry teacher at Walbrook, who also became my wrestling coach. He got me into wrestling. But this guy took an interest in me, and he knew I was living in a single family, single mom, and he saw how interested I was. Because here's the thing, like my mother ain't play. My mother might have only went to middle school at Roland Park, but goddamn, you come in the house with less than an 80 or 5. I wasn't playing football. I wasn't going out. Like, we ain't had games and stuff like how now you can sit on your phone with your. It was going outside was the number one thing, and playing sports in school. And my mother, listen, if you ain't have an 80 or above and your stuff, I couldn't do nothing. And he knew that about my mom, and he saw the way that I conducted myself in school. And he took a shine to me. He said, hey, you know, you think about going to college? I'm like, nah, I'm going in the military, because that was always my dream, to go into the Marines. And he like, yeah, but you know, you like chemistry, you really good, da-da-da-da. And then he was like, you ever try wrestling? Da-da-da. And I'm like, no. Then he got me into wrestling. Then he started taking me hunting. He was like, you ever been fishing and hunting? And I'm like, no. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. Yeah. This dude was taking me fishing. The first time I went fishing was Mr. Gibson. First time I went hunting was Mr. Gibson. And then when I started getting older, we start doing mischievous things together. Because the whole thing was, Mr. Gibson was he was a college graduate that became a teacher. Right. So the age gap was not. It
wasn't too far.
Yeah. And he actually still coaching Poly. He's still Poly wrestling coach.
That's funny as shit.
He took them 3 championships. And yo, we used to go hunting out on Security Boulevard with my BB gun and shoot rabbits, because he's from that Eastern Shore, and he eat the rabbits and all that. Man, we would go hunting.
He like that.
But he took he took me and gave me an experience and introduced me to his wife. They owned a house, a big house in the county. Yo, I'm like,
so you got to see the blueprint.
Yeah,
like, right
I'm sitting there like, oh my
person.
God. I'm like, this dude, he funny. He ain't stuck up. He got this nice big house. He got a beautiful wife, Lene. Her name was Lene. I was like, and he took an interest in me.
Right.
And it was like, I'm a poor kid from the hood. Right. I'm living down on Eden Street, and I'm like, but it showed me. He showed me a life in a way that I aspired for. And my thing is, I can do the same thing for the next generations. Not necessarily in that way, but giving them something they haven't had before, which is support. Support go a long way. Support will stop a woman from giving her body up or making a bad decision based off of the situation. Just because somebody was there to support you and to help you, it stopped you from making a drastic decision that could have ruined the rest of your life. And that's always in my mind. Like, if I can be there for you, I'm gonna be there. Because you just never know what the alternative is. Right. Because I grew up with a mother who never had the support, and it was always the alternative. And I know what that can lead to. So,
just talking a little bit off air. So basically, I was asking Big Kevin for real. Around the time when you mentioned the Good Times show, was at a time when like the Jeffersons and fucking Family Matters, was that around the time when like a lot of black shows was being flooded on TV?
So it wasn't. I would just say they was given opportunities to be on TV, and Esther Rowe, who played the mother on Good Times, when it was a spinoff from another show, but the thing was, she refused to do the show unless it was a father and a strong father in the household. And they didn't want to put a father in the household. They wanted to.
So it was going to be like Florida Evans raising JJ and all that?
Living in the hood. It was going to be the norm
right
of what it was. But what she said was, we do have fathers that are in the household, and I need him.
That was an added character.
To be there. So what happened was, that's why JJ character was such a buffoon. Because the spinoff of that was, okay, we'll give you a strong black father, but we gotta make the oldest male a fucking buffoon. To even off the black male image of a black man running a household with successful black men. Like, so you got that with James, but then they made JJ a buffoon. But if you watch Good Times, after James died, JJ actually became more of a man and was no longer buffoon no more. And that's how they play those games with you, man, when you're watching TV, man. And I applaud her for doing that, because it would have been another show. What's happening, all that. It's always a single black mother. Yeah. Always a single black mother. Right. And they always raising black men. And the black men are always either chucking and jiving or smiling and laughing and everything, or they non-existent.
Or non-existent.
Yeah, or non-existent.
Or street hustlers and stuff like that look cool.
Yeah. But depict us in a bad way.
Right. That
Good
depict
Times
us
was
on
one of the
that
first shows, and I'm telling you, James, listen, y'all might think I'm joking or that.
I remember J.
I modeled myself after James Evans Sr., no nonsense, take care of the family.
Right.
You know, that was a plus and that was a minus. And that's for another show, too, because that also stopped me from being spiritually in tune with my children, because I thought a man was supposed to be a certain way.
That ain't for another show.
What I did,
that's for this
you know.
show. We can get into that.
know.
So my personal feeling before you get into your wisdom, my personal feeling is, because my son, I raised him. They like, man, they commend the job and they commend on the little boy that he is. They like, oh, he still like going outside. He ain't always got an iPad in his face. He's active. He knows how to communicate with different people. Like, and I always say what I like to throw the thing on is he was born in the 2020s, but I raised him like he's a 90s baby, because I believe we was the cutoff, whereas though right before the internet age took off and kids started just being in the house more, because you can connect now to your computer and just be in touch with every child that's across like different worlds and stuff like that. Whereas though if we had to play with each other, we had to go see each other outside, and things of that sort.
I said earlier,
so
outside.
That's how I raised my son, but it still make sure that he's not behind the technology curve. So I say that to say, because I often see regret, or you telling me about regret, but I feel like some of the things you did, we wouldn't be the way we are if you ain't do it. So now you got child protective services now who can come snatch your kids up if they go and say, oh, well, I know I'm going to get in trouble when I go home because I was acting bad in school. So I'm going to just tell these people that my father or my mother is about to abuse me, or I come from an abusive home and things of that nature. Like, so what are the things as a parent do you regret being hard on them, disciplining them, or do you feel like you could do all of those things but still let them in on the side of nurture and things of that sort?
So here's a tricky thing for me, right? Because you know, and Kevin know, I perceive to be the hardest person and mean, but ultimately anything y'all needed, I took care of it.
Right.
And a lot of times it was just a fuss just to be a fuss, because to me that's what men do. We fuss and we get the job done.
That's funny.
You know, and it's like you and Kevin wanted to go to the rooftop party that ended at 1:30, and I didn't allow y'all to catch the bus. So that means if I let y'all go, that means I had to come down there and get y'all at 1:30. Right. And I might fuss like, y'all just went to a party, but guess what? I was sitting right out there. Talk my shit.
Let me talk my shit.
Let me talk my shit. Let me finally, knowing I'm going to do it. Especially with the girl, knowing I'm going to do it.
Just let me talk my shit.
But I talk my shit, and then I was always going to be there. Yeah. But I honestly have to say, the biggest regret that I have, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, it took for me to be divorced and be on my own to realize how much I missed out on a relationship with y'all, because I was always a man, pay the bills, take care of what need to be taken care of, pick up what got to be picked up, fill the cars up with gas, make sure the groceries in there, yada, 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 and that's it. But what I never did is I never had an emotional connection with none of my kids. And I'm going to tell y'all some real shit that fucked me up.
Okay.
So, one Sunday, and Jamal, I think you was there too. One Sunday, all of y'all was in the kitchen. You, Key, Kevin, Brittany, Brianna, and Ebony. Y'all was in the kitchen. I was in the room watching football. And y'all was just there laughing, just going at it, right? Mm-hmm. And I needed another beer. So y'all laughing, I got up and went into the kitchen to get a beer, and it got quiet when I walked in the room. And everybody just stopped talking. And then I got my beer and walked out and sat down, and everybody was like, yeah.
Got right back to it.
I'm gonna tell you some real shit.
You felt like you was
that shit hurt
energy.
me. No, that shit hurt me.
Yeah,
so Ebony went upstairs, after she got finished with y'all, and I went upstairs behind her, and I was like, hey, why when I walked in the room, everybody, she said, Hey, I'm being honest with you. Do you realize that, when you come in the room, you suck the life out of the room?
Yeah.
She was like, you always like, why y'all doing this? What's that? Move this, move that. You always in disciplinary and improvement mode, and you're never in accepting, loving mode.
Right.
And I'm like, huh?
Right.
And then I sat back and I thought about that. And then when I got divorced and I was on my own, and everybody was coming to me and talking to me and building relationship with me, and Pop, let's do this. Daddy, let's do this. Unc, let's do this. I realized, I missed out on that. Like, because I was always like, I'm your father, not your friend.
Right.
And that's the way I was raised. Like, and that's my biggest regret, is that I didn't allow all y'all to come in at an earlier point, because I would be a lot much happier than I am now if I'd allowed that. And I'm trying to make up that now with like my grandkids and stuff.
Right.
You know, with my grandkids and
It
all that.
normally go like
the
that
kids.
though. It's like you way better as a grandparent.
Oh yeah,
than a
definitely.
parent. Yeah.
Because you
Definitely.
learn, you know what I mean?
Yeah, even with the kids now. Like, hey, I like spending, and people call me, they spend time doing this podcast, me and Kevin hanging out.
Yeah.
After this, Kiara's supposed to be coming over the house, you know, just to come hang out.
Right.
And
That's what's up.
I appreciate that. And I'm glad I was able to fix it.
Getting back from last time.
From last time.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, I was a disciplinarian. I don't care.
No, you were. It was
Every PTA meeting, I was there.
Right.
But check this
I
out.
would say, yeah.
The responsible stuff you did.
Every basketball game,
You know, for
You were
sure.
there.
every basketball game,
And that's what I
every
remember.
football game,
Yep.
every baseball
You was
game,
at every
every
last one.
wrestling.
You was at every
I
last
don't
one
care
of
if
my
it was a
games.
spelling bee. I was
Yeah.
there for all my
You
kids.
was at every last one.
that's what's
But
up.
that's
Because
but
that's what a man's supposed to do in my eyes.
But coming from my perspective, right? Because I know that you gonna support me to the ends of the earth, so I expected you to be trophy ceremony, graduation ceremony, prom, anything, like PTA meetings. Cause you get what I'm saying? Cause that's what I was lacking on my end of things. You get what I'm saying? So I expected those things from you. All of my games. Cause I played every sport. You was always there. No
Every
matter,
game?
every season. No
Every game.
complaints. You get what I'm saying? Supported me. So when it comes to them times of getting quiet when you come in the room and things of that sort, it was more so just because of, from my perspective, can't speak for nobody else, but it would be more so drill sergeant time. All right, it's time to
Get your shit together.
shape up, because
Yeah, get your shit
I remember being 6, 7 years old, me and Deuce and we clowning, we getting in, we are geeking about every last thing. You get what I'm saying, man? Y'all bet they giggling like little girls. So by the time I got to teenage years and things like that, I look at you as, man, this is how you said you look at James Abbott. I'm like, man, I'm trying to be like my uncle when I get older. This man is everything that I want to stand to be. So when you come in the room, anything I felt like I don't see you doing, it's time to shape up. All right, let me sit up right. Let me get right. Like, let me let you know I'm on my P's and Q's. I see you. But like you say, at the end of the day, our nature, we still was kids at the time. So we gonna gonna report back to laughing and giggling and joking about every last thing. But we like, all right, when we get around the stand up guy, stand up man, they don't like that. That's not how we should be acting. The women gonna allow us to do that. So I know I can do that when I get around auntie. When I get around grandma. When I get around my mother. But when uncle in the building, nah, we militant. We gotta stand up for something. We gotta be serious. What we joking about? This world is cruel to black men. So let me put my chin up a little bit.
But,
you know what I'm
saying? As I may say for real though, but and to ask you this, but to still answer, do you think it's because you wasn't raised around an actual father in the home?
He said that.
Because I would say like, you know, as a father now and me having a father, it's like, all right, that balance of having a mother and father in a home, whereas though, you know, the mother is nurturing, the father is more disciplinary. But at the same times when I'm, you know, growing up with my pops and shit, you know, that fall, you hurt yourself, man, get up, type shit for real. But when I broke my leg and shit when I was a kid, I seen the compassionate side of my father for real, though, you know, by my side every day, making sure I'm good and all that shit, crying and all that shit. And
did it surprise you?
Embracing that shit.
Or he always was like that?
Cause I was young, and he was, you feel me, and then I seen that shit, so that was always in my mind.
He was nurturing.
Yeah, like he was nurturing, but he was hard as a, hard as a motherfucker too.
Right.
You feel me? Shit, you get a lot of shit. What you booked for?
That's the balance,
I ain't
though.
putting the house up, nigga.
That's the balance. You need that
balance.
balance.
Ain't putting the house up,
Check
nigga.
this out, but check this out.
You gonna sleep in that motherfucker for a night.
But check this out, and I told my son this, and I told him
It's
not to
gonna get you. You gonna sleep there for a night.
The realest thing
He gonna
is,
get you.
there's no man in this world that wants you to be better than them than your father.
Right.
Your father is the only man that wants you to be better than him.
That's real shit.
Real shit.
That's
Your
crazy.
father is the only man that wants you to be better than him. Your boys can want you to be just successful as them, or just be successful.
Just as great.
Your girl, your whoever.
But it's a
As
competition,
a man,
right? But y'all love each other, but it's a competition.
every father wants their child to be better.
Yeah.
They want their son to be better than them.
That's how you measure success.
And
That's
that's the love of a father that a father gives to a son.
because you
It's
supposed to get
unmatched.
that.
Like you said, your father, you was going through whatever, and your father, as soon as you got hurt, you said you saw the other side.
Right.
Of course, that's when it's okay to let it down. But I'm going to be honest with you, though. It's okay to let it down through the entire relationship, and that's us as black men are not taught that.
That's your growth. I'm just
Yeah.
so that's why I got you here today, because y'all don't know this man. Like I said, is no lie. You had to experience it, but you probably know if you had a man in your life that come from what we deemed as the old school and things like that. So especially in this day and age, what we call everything. So for this man to be here saying the things he's saying and saying it's okay to have emotion and to be nurtured in these times, I knew if I ever needed someone to sucker me up or kiss my boo boo, I wasn't calling Unc. I was calling Unc about information.
No, exactly.
I was calling him about Huey Newton, Africa, being militant, stand up as an individual. Everything that requires strength, which is great.
Yeah.
But to have someone
No,
that do
shit.
all of those things that you're doing, but at the same time can still come to you and be like, be vulnerable. At my vulnerable state, I could cry in front of you. I could get a hug. Like,
It's okay not
Right.
to be okay.
right,
It's okay not to be okay.
right,
And that's something us as black men never learn.
yeah,
We will always suck it up. Stop acting like a girl.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
this, do that.
yeah.
And all our emotions have been embodied and enraged, and we hold it in. And then you wonder why we explode, or why we so distant, and why we're not emotional, and why we're not spiritually connected to a women. Yo, we hold all that in because that's the way we were taught. You know, and we have never been given the tools to unteach ourselves. It just don't happen that way. And it's going to take generations after generations of learning and coping and figuring out to teach the next ones how to be better.
Exactly. So
Now,
what was your thought pattern with your daughters? Like.
So they mad
You know what I'm
at
saying?
they
Like,
mad at
what
me.
was your thought pattern with them? Like is it I want to be different? I want to treat them different from my son. Like I can't be a hard on him as
I
a
had
boy.
to. No, I had to.
Like so, what's your thought pattern on them, and how do you see that reflected in them as women today?
Well, I am.
How do women
Call
take
me-
being having a drill sergeant?
Call me being wrong, but of course I treated my
How do
daughters, you know, treat my daughters different than my sons. You know, my son and you, y'all could go to skating parties, y'all could go to the rooftop. Yeah, my daughters weren't going to none of this shit because my whole
You had
thing
something
is
to say?
nah, because my whole thing is
I had to fucking
I
say
know what's
something.
out there. Like so, and my daughters laugh at me and they was like, "Daddy, you used to let Kevin and Jamal go everywhere. We could never do." I say, "Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're not doing that. Yo, you're vulnerable. You're not." Listen, as
You're
young
not there to
men,
protect them.
as young
taking
men,
ass out.
you are being bred to be protectors.
You know your
Right.
As a
taking
woman,
ass.
that's not in your mindset, and you don't even know dudes
Not
is
a
on the
brand.
prowl. You don't even know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Because neither one of us is going where they're going at. So, you don't even have us to be like, look at your sister. You know what I'm saying?
And that was the whole thing. For y'all, your job was to protect the girls.
Right.
You know, period.
This nigga ain't
You know,
bad.
that's how we roll. Like they your sisters, your whatever. But hey, I treated them different, and I guess in today's whatever, I was wrong.
Oh, they grill you for
but
that.
I don't care.
They grill you for that in
and I
today's
would do it
age.
again.
Yeah. It would grill
I
you
do
for
it
that.
again.
I think it's like a natural thing though. Like you feel me? Like maybe not to that, you know, to that degree, to that extent, but I think
You got
it's
a
just
daughter?
natural that you,
My
Right.
daughter's
you
always
know, I
gonna
got
be
2
treated
sons and
different.
a daughter for real, so
Always.
you know, daughter always a little different.
What would you do differently from your son that you would do with your daughter?
Well,
that you can
for
predict?
right now, you know, they
Right.
are young. So
Yeah, they're young, so that you can predict. Like, what are some of the differences you see? Whereas though Trey, at this level, I was doing this, and now with my daughter, I'm doing this.
One of the biggest things was dating.
Yeah, just moving
Seriously.
around. Just moving around, period. Just moving around, period.
Are you harder on the boy or the girl?
Man. Always, like, you know, shit. Man, Trey. Always
You
tough
harder on Trey.
Always a
Always.
little tough on Trey. And he's, you know,
It's hard to be tough
he's
on the
definitely
girls.
that age.
It's hard to be tough on the
It's
girls
hard
as
to
a
tough.
man.
So you soft on them, you giving them a soft life, but
No, you're
but-
not really giving them a soft life, but you kind of like,
Uh-huh.
you're going at things differently.
It's different.
right.
You're going at things differently. You're
Right.
always trying to get to the same point, but you navigate it differently. I'm still trying to get here, but
Right.
just a different way. With, you know, like with the boys, yo, come on, yo, this is that.
Yeah.
ABC.
Right.
With you know, baby girl, come on, baby.
Yeah, I come from the ass whooping era.
So it's like,
And I'm gonna tell you,
so I come from the ass,
I've given my daughters a total of 1.5 ass whoopings in their lives, and my son got 1.5 ass whoopings a day.
See, but like you know, my
so
kids still
so
like
that's
not
the
at-
difference.
not at
No, but
age.
I'm saying you say ask me about the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
Me as a man, I don't believe that
Yeah.
a man should put his hands on a woman or a girl.
Real shit.
So I could never feel okay beating my daughters.
Real shit.
And one thing you gotta realize though, our people didn't have an easy time. So we wasn't sitting at home just being able to be grandmothers. We was working. Like our grandmothers was working,
Right.
cleaning, taking the lowest paid jobs ever. You know, so it's a little different now.
Everybody
you know
don't
what
got
I
a
mean?
mommy.
Yeah, exactly.
Mommy, dada took the workload, and
They
mommy
gone.
was able to go take
That's what I'm
care
saying.
of
So
the
they gone
home
now. Yes.
and take care of the grandbabies
Yep.
and stuff like that. Right.
So now this new wave of grandmothers, they business women working.
Oh, it's a new wave, you know.
Under 50 and
Talk.
doing their thing and trying to buy business. It's different. Back then,
You part of the new wave. Don't exclude yourself.
no, but here's the funny
We
thing.
feel like I remember me and Deuce having a conversation. We like, man, we can't just drop off the kids the way our parents could. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, but it's not your fault because y'all
They
still
try their
young.
best. They
Y'all
try
still
their
young
best.
and y'all trying on y'all trips. Y'all feel like, man, I did my part. My child is out the house now. I'm trying to have my fun. You get what I'm saying? So y'all more so on that, whereas though they was already ready to
don't
be
put no extra
grandparents and
kid
just
on
be in the
me.
house.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
put off a kid over
Because
Right, that's how they feel.
Because back
How they
then
feel.
grandmothers was 65,
Right.
and like now.
Yeah,
Y'all making us grandparents
And
at
65 back then,
and
65
45,
was
50.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little, you know,
30 something.
but it is what it is.
No, you right.
But hey, y'all the ones that had us young.
That's how it goes.
So,
Y'all the
no,
ones that
Cause I had
us
mine at the right time.
So I had my first kid at 21. 21.
I thought you was 19, huh?
Nah, 21. Brittany when I was
I thought Brady
21.
was 19. Oh, you was a grown man.
Yeah, I was 21.
But yeah, though.
Yeah, I got went to the joint, but yeah. But I had my daughter when I was 21. Then I had Kevin when I was 23,
Mm-hmm.
and you know,
Zaheem.
and I still think it was too young. But
I get you.
I
I don't know if I could have a kid at 21.
But one thing I did, you know, and
But you took it. You took it.
But you know, like all the things you said earlier about me and everything. Listen, I credit everything that I am from my mom, from my mother, and my father. My mother,
Yeah.
my mother showed me everything that she wanted me to be, and I wanted so hard to be everything for her because of the disappointment she had in life. And my father showed me everything not to be.
So this is my question.
Everything not
Again,
me.
it come back full circle. You know what I'm saying? Before we go into the next segment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's an unfair advantage that you never really got to be a kid?
No. Because then I
Because that was between adults, the fact that someone couldn't be in the house and stuff like that. But I think it's the parents' job to make sure their children keep their innocence for as long as possible.
So
You know what I'm saying?
so here's the thing, and you know me long enough to know, and I tell you,
Right.
everything happens the way it's supposed to happen and where it's supposed to be.
Oh, you have no regrets, but you're
Right.
grown now. Do you wish you would have had a childhood? Though?
No, because that childhood could have led me into being dead or in jail right now. Following behind Butch and all the other little dudes around the neighborhood, Peter and Paul, who had a childhood and was being mischievous and sneaking out at night and going to parties and all them. They even did it in jail.
Right.
The thing is, I was restricted. I had to watch my little brother.
Yeah.
I had to make
You
breakfast
really
for
were
him.
the man of the house.
Yeah, well,
Literally.
I was playing my part in the house. I wasn't the man. There was no man in the house. Like, I was a child,
Right.
but I was playing my part and my role in the family structure that had to be played. My mother got up every night and worked from 11 to 7 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
She played her part. She paid the bills. She made sure there was food there. My job was during the daytime while she was asleep,
Right.
I had to watch my little brother.
So you don't think that was unfair to you?
Growing up,
Right.
to me it was
I mean, you're not gonna think about that growing up, but like you now at this day and age, it put you at a disadvantage.
I don't think so, because if I was at a disadvantage, wow, what would I be if that didn't happen?
Right.
Because I'm very successful, I'm very happy.
You are.
Like, so my
So what
thing
allows
is,
you to give your children a childhood? What allows you to do that then? If
I-
you feel like
I didn't.
it didn't play, if you feel like the other way kind of made you and shaped you into who you are, what made you so adamant on making sure your kids could be kids?
so I'm gonna be honest with you. That was my
You handle
ex-wife.
responsibility.
That was my ex-wife.
Mm-hmm.
My ex-wife taught me or showed me how it's okay to allow them to be kids, and
Right.
you don't gotta prepare them for the next big issue.
Right.
Like for me growing up, my mom prepared me to handle any and every situation.
Yeah.
For me, I was trying to prepare the kids to be the same way. Stop laughing all the time. Do this. Pay attention. Do this. Do that. And I'm like, she like, yo, let them. They kids. Let them be kids. And
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I'll let you handle that part, and I'll handle the part of making sure that everything that they need, they got.
Right.
And that was the yin and the yang. That was the
Yeah,
balance
the
that every
balance.
family had.
So which way do you, now looking back on it, is that the right way that you would tell parents to go about with their kids is let kids be kids?
Yes. And the thing is, that's why it's important that you have a complete household with a father and a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Because by nature, the mother's going to be the nurturer and my baby. And by nature, the father is going to be the protector, the provider, and the one to make sure that the son and the daughter is doing what they're supposed to do. That's why you got to have that balance. So when you got that balance, yes, it's okay. But you can't have one going too far and the other going the other. That's why you got to have the balance.
I believe it. Hell yeah.
These gems for you too, bro, with your, cause you
Oh,
got a
nah,
daughter
hell yeah.
and a son, so it's a
Oh, nah,
duality.
nigga, shit, I'm
that's
listening,
why
nigga. I stopped
yeah.
talking.
See,
I
right,
only cleared my
gems.
voice just to. I
Cause-
only did that.
cause that's
that
why-
was
that's
that
why I
was
made
some
sure-
nice shit. I ain't do that to steal the attention.
Right.
No, fuck no, not at all.
Yeah,
Fuck
that's
no,
why when I get an
no crazy
introduction,
shit.
I had to let him know it was a duality to it. He was
No,
a
fuck
disciplinary, but at the same time, he was a mentor.
Trust me.
It
I
was
feel
never
it.
no means
I
of
stopped talking.
I'm
If
scared
it
of my
is some real
uncle.
shit.
You get what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like it's never no fear based
No.
thing. But
No, it was a
if it's a
respect
fear, it's a respect thing.
It was a respect
I'm in
thing.
fear of not living up to the standards that I feel like he
He
sees
has a
me
place
as.
for me.
Because him telling me he disappointed in me, and it was early.
Nigga, that's
All he
worse
had to
than
do was
an
tell
ass
me he
whooping.
disappointed more than an ass
Man, that's
whooping.
what.
Him saying like I'm
more than
disappointed.
an
It's
ass
nothing.
whooping.
It's nothing worse than looking up to somebody and you hold them higher than shit.
Sure.
Forget a LeBron James. I didn't need no LeBron James.
sure.
I ain't need Kobe Bryant and none of that. The
Good
dudes
Lord.
I looked up to, man, I'm growing up with in the household.
I try to
I'm
fade
growing
out
up with
'cause
my
I
mother,
felt
and
that shit.
I knew early at an early age, at 10 years old, I'm like, man, this is not life. I spent a couple weekends with my cousin Deuce, and he got his father over there, and my aunt over there, and I'm like, man, listen, I know early on this is the type of household and environment I want. They complaining about having structure and a set bedtime and a set. My mother let me do whatever, and I still decided I'm the one who came to her and was like, I want to go live over there. Just spending the summer over there, because at the end of the day, it was like, yeah, this is hard for me to do, but I accept the challenge because at the end of the day, I'm trying to get closer to what it's like to be a man. Because at the end of the day, I'm a little boy, but I'm trying to become a man, and I already knew early on. I'm like, man, this man got something going for him that I ain't got over here. Right now, it's a war on masculinity going on, whereas though to be a man in this day and age means to come with heavy criticism, the opposite sex intervening and telling you what they think a man is or should be or how they could be better. It comes with even the term that they coined hypermasculinity, where anybody who ever said you are masculine, I've never seen it come with a positive connotation. So can you just give me a definition of what you think masculinity is and how you feel about the times that we are living in this soft life era, and how is they making it hard for a man to really bite down and be the man that he needs to be for his household, for himself, and for his discipline?
So I'm gonna say this: masculinity is subjective, because if you look up the meaning of masculinity, the only thing it is male type traits.
Yeah.
So it's almost like answering a question with the question, like with the words in the question. Like, so you say, what is masculinity? Oh, male type trait. That's really not telling you what masculinity is. Because what are male type traits? Do we hold in our emotions? Do we not cry when we get into a situation? Do we not get upset when our kids do things, but where the women would? Like, so when you say masculinity, for me, I have a problem with that, because we're using a word that was defined by people who have no idea of how the human body works or elevates. So, but if you're talking about what Europeans perceive as masculinity, that's the I'm a man's man, or I'm an alpha male, or I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, and I'm that. There's definitely a attack on men being the dominant species. When I was younger, I hated, and you know, I'll be honest with you, when I was younger, I hated like homosexuals or gay people or whatever. Like why you making us look bad and you know, and to me that was an attack on masculinity.
Right.
But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Like, bruh, I can't even turn on TV and see a commercial unless it's a gay couple in the commercial. And 9 times out of 10, if it's 2 women, it's 2 white women that's looking kind of rough or whatever, right? Whatever, all right. But whenever it's the men, it's always black men, and they looking fruity as hell.
Yeah.
Lipstick on, makeup, voguing. Like, come on, bro. Like, my whole thing is, be what you gonna be. Right. But you ain't gotta publicize this stuff and keep throwing this stuff on TV and putting it in front of our young men and young women.
It's an agenda.
Where's that now? You got 5-year-old boys talking about they think. Yo, listen. I'm gender neutral. I don't know what Yo, get the fuck out of here, yo. Like that shit Dwayne, your boy did. Yo, that was the worst thing that could have happened, yo. That shit Dwayne Wade did with his kids. Yo,
I'm about to say my boy. Hey, I already knew what you was talking about.
Dwayne Wade.
I definitely feel like it's an agenda. The fact that a child can, like, before they're the age of 18, the fact that a child can say they want to get a sex change, but a child can't vote, a child can't say, right, you can't even, you can't get married before you,
let somebody sign off.
Right, you gotta have someone sign off on it, but you can say, hey, I want to start taking this pill. I want to start getting this testosterone if I'm a girl, or I want to change my genetic makeup to be a woman. It's definitely an agenda going on, but I'll let you get into like why you think that is.
So I'll tell you this. In every suburban neighborhood or area, there's a fertility clinic. Because they trying to have babies. In the urban areas and the urban places, it's abortion clinics.
Right.
So what you have is you have the white race that's dying off and it's not producing because of what we were talking about earlier off camera. A J. Electra sleeping with a Rothschild. Yeah. So now when the baby comes out, by their standards, that's no longer a pure white child.
Not pure. Yeah, it's not pure.
So what you have is you have a race of people who's dying off because their offspring is not following that same discipline they did. So what they're doing now is they're attacking us so we don't produce as fast. Listen, every popular black show on TV has a gay male couple on there sleeping with each other.
Facts.
And you will turn your TV on regular TV. It ain't even gotta be cable. And see a grown black man ass in the air, and then the next scene he laying there with another black man on his chest, and they talking about how much they love each other, man. Yo, and my whole thing is I don't need to see that with male female because it's not appropriate. So if it was, listen, back in the day. Shit. Back in the day before y'all was born, you had the I Love Lucy show. Ricky and Lucy were married and slept in separate beds. This was the consciousness that they had back in the day because they didn't want to promote the sexual appetite on TV. So back then when whites were running everything, Ricky and Lucy couldn't sleep in the same bed, but now on regular TV, I got Tommy and Michael butt naked, laying in the bed, holding on to each other. Yeah. That's an agenda, bro. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's working. It is an attack on the black male. It is so evident and it's so and it's scary because these black women, they allow that shit and they fault. Man, they allow it and they embellish it.
They allowed it. Now that they in their competitions. I just watched a UFC fight probably like a couple months ago. It was you didn't know until they did the interview. Well, you knew, but it was a man that was a transvestite.
No,
transgender. That was a transgender. I'm sorry. That was a transgender, and it was a woman. Beat the crap out of her.
He should have went to jail.
Beat the crap out of her.
He should have went to jail for a man hitting any woman with domestic violence. Yo.
Beat the crap out of her.
And he jumping up talking about, get the fuck out of here. You're a grown ass man.
They in their swimming competitions, winning. They are dominating the swimming competitions. And us as men, we was telling them 10 years ago, hey, they're not going to come for us. They're not going to come for the men. We're standing behind you because we know they're going to aim after you. They're going to come after you. They're going to be sharing y'all bathrooms. Like, we're not the ones who are in fear of them taking over our sports and our competitions and our stuff like that. But
you got to remember,
the women were the one who was advocating for it, and now they're the ones complaining, and now they want help with it, but it is your fault.
They got bamboozled.
It's your fault.
I think it was
they got bamboozled.
Yes.
It came in with that feminist movement and all of those, and the laws being changed and stuff like that. The women wanted this.
Don't agree with that shit.
No, not all.
You feel me? You got
but it was them.
But they wasn't the one that was pushing it though. Right. They was pawns.
They were pawns.
They was pawns in the game, man.
Sure, you know how that shit go.
They was pawns.
Just like for us during the civil rights movement, we were pawns in the civil rights movement so white women could get rights.
Real shit.
So you gotta remember, it started off with just blacks wanting rights. And what happened was the fucking feminist movement kicked in and it turned into, you're not black, you're a woman. We want women rights. Real so what it did was it took off the importance of being black and fighting to separating us to being black, then I'm a woman. So then it turned into, okay, y'all minorities.
It's the same trick.
All the rights we got, they got.
It's the same trick with everything.
So you got white women getting rights that we earned over the years of slavery and betrayal and murder, and they picked up the benefits from it.
Yeah, it's
by being a minority.
It's just the same trick with anything. Like you know, when it was just the regular Europeans, then they looked at the Italians as some dirty niggas
Dugs.
as well.
They treated them like Dugs.
They treated Irish. Then when it's time to oh damn, we about to be the minorities. Let's add these motherfuckers to the Caucasians. You know what I mean?
So you know,
same thing about to happen to the Asians.
So it's funny that you said that.
Same thing that's about to happen to the Asians. The Asians about to be part of the
minority?
They about to be part of the Caucasian pool.
No, well they tried to be.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's funny that you said that
they
because
try to be, like you
know that's when color came in to play. So we were never black and white.
Right.
Never. Like he just said. So you had the Irish. They called them Irish Dugs. They would say Irish was only good for getting drunk and fighting. When the Italians came over, they treated them like shit. Said that they were nothing. But what happened was, when the free slaves started migrating and start building and start applying for government loans and government things, the government had to grant them to them. So what happened was, it was like, yo, we giving them all these things, we have no stipulation because you got Irish, you got Jews, yo, you had Italians, all of them were separated. They never considered themselves the same. So what they came up with was white and black. So what they did was they start coming up with rules of, if you are of the white or Caucasian persuasion, this can happen. If you're not, you don't qualify for X, Y, and Z. So that's when we start getting disqualified. Yo, you know that's how most successful African landowners that prospered after slavery lost their land, they start putting legislation in place, whereas though you had to be a certain nationality to own a certain amount of land and this and that. So what they said was you had to be Caucasian. So just like African person or Negro couldn't sue a Caucasian in court. So you literally could take his property and do what you want, and you couldn't sue him. But before they combined them all as one, you couldn't do those type of things. That's the only reason why that Italians were no more Dougs and the Scottish was no more drunken this and that, because they was all considered white, which is fake. Every other culture identifies themselves by the landmass of where they come from, except for Americans, which say white and black. Asians are Asians. Japanese from Japan. Chinese from China. Polish, we like, oh, I'm black or I'm white. That don't exist. That was used to separate us so we couldn't get the same benefits of white Americans and black Americans. And that's why they changed it.
So it should just be the nationality. It should just be American.
African. That's why they came up later with the African American on your things. But before it was African American, it was Negro.
It was Negro.
And then after that, it was black.
I was saying that my uncle, his birth certificate was from like South Carolina. It
Negro.
Negro.
Right.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
What land? Mind you, Negro is over in Africa is Negro, but not that. It's not that. But that's where we come from.
So I got this question. So do you believe every black person comes from Africa?
So I don't believe in the word black.
I mean, so how would you?
So we are descendants from our ancestors from Africa, but
every dark tone person. Then
how
do I ask that? How do I ask that question? Then?
Not even dark tone, because I'm gonna tell you like this: we were the explorers, the migrators, and the settlers all around this world. So the whole thing was, we settled in Mexico, we settled in France, we we have ancestors who come from there, whereas though it'd be like, yo, I'm a French descent. You are, but your original ancestor migrated from the continent of Africa, which has over 100+ countries in there.
Right.
But our origin of where we migrated from is Africa. You got to realize, Africa, until its 13th dynasty, Europe didn't even exist. We were already in our 13th dynasty of ruling before there was a Europe. Before there was a Morocco and all these other places. We had already ruled where we were. So you had Asia, and we battled, like the Persians. They tried to attack us. They finally got some leeway around the 19th century. But we had already been in charge for 19 centuries and being the gateway and the light of mankind.
Right.
Going out and sharing and giving the knowledge that we were given by our ancestors that are written on the walls right now, that we all can go visit. It is not no fake book that somebody wrote. We can go over there right now and look at it on the walls. In the pyramids, to this day, the most smartest people cannot tell you how our ancestors built the pyramids or how they did it. And they try blaming it on aliens.
Woo! No, you gotta save it, because we're gonna get into that later. We're gonna get into, they got a show called Ancient Aliens that'll break down why the aliens even, they don't say they built them, right? Now they'll say they that's where the knowledge stemmed from. the knowledge came from the alien beings and gave it to the people here on Earth, and they were able to align it with the stars and have it,
So
set in just like that.
What is the definition of an alien? The definition of an alien is an unidentified species.
Right. That's
you don't
not
know what
here.
it is.
Right. That's not from here. That's not from here.
So.
Not from Earth.
So no. It don't say from Earth. It said an unidentified species.
Mm-hmm.
So what it is, our ancestors tapped into the pineal gland, and we knew how to meditate and to be at one with the universe and just meditate. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our people are getting back to that now, like meditating and things like that. Mm-hmm. But we understood and we listened. We ain't come up with it. One thing about Europeans and the way things are now, they make an excuse and a reason for everything. Some things are just unexplainable. And some things you just gotta understand it's bigger than you.
Right.
And you will never understand because you don't have the capacity to understand it.
Bigger than Nino.
Yes. Like, and as much as you want to know, listen, the smartest people that Europeans give credit to this day, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, all of them went over to ancient Kemet.
Yeah.
Pythagorean, all of them went over to Kemet and studied at the foot of the masters. And none of them spent more than 7 years. And in order to become a master, you had to study at 40 plus years under the elders and under the masters until you could actually comprehend and understand what everything was and what everything meant. So you had the greatest minds of Europeans who came for 5, 6, and 3 years, and the little bit of knowledge they learned, they came over here and they thought they was the greatest thing since sliced bread. They was like, oh my God, they so brilliant. Bruh, we got high priests that have studied for 47, 50 years, and they only studied 3, 4 years, and they baby steps.
Alexander the Great was amazing.
Man, Alexander the Great, they raided over there.
You're really speaking in code right now.
And they started raiding the temples. When he saw, the elders were sitting in the temple. They called him in for a meeting. Mind you, Alexander was a conqueror, because his name was Alexander the Conqueror before they changed it to the Great. Anyway, he went.
You heard what Mike Tyson said.
That's funny. He destroyed everything. But the elders called him into the temple that only the blessed and the chosen were able to come in. He spent 3 days in the temple with the elders and came out, told all his men, don't touch nothing else. You will not break, remove, or steal nothing. And he said, we're not leaving here. And they stayed there all the way until he was summoned by the queen because they was having a war somewhere, which was like 12 years later. And he took him and all his men. He was amazed and astounded by what he found and what the elders taught him there. And that was just this much.
Like you said, it took 40. He spent 12 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
40 years to call yourself a high priest.
To unlock. Yeah.
And to unlock and understand the knowledge.
I don't want to step on toes.
No, you step on toes.
I don't want to jump over the path. But it seems like we're talking like, what's the difference between, and it's speaking to like, when motherfuckers be like on some, not religious, I'm spiritual, and because it seems like you touching both parts.
Oh my God, you gotta stop it. You know I was gonna get into that.
I don't want to step on toes.
But you good though.
I'm not trying to step on others.
Do your thing though.
I hear some other shit going on.
Stop trying to be political. This Mancave parlays. We parlaying right now. Asking whatever. Ain't no topic untouched. Yeah, he always go ahead. Ask him.
That's all.
But we get in there anyway.
It just seemed like a lot of like. Just both sides of like what you. Like, what are you really saying, though?
So, I am not...
Like, do you believe in aliens? Do you think aliens could have...
So, for me, the word alien is the improper word. That's why I was saying earlier, like, because let's just use common knowledge in mathematics and science, all right? Which is originally the African mystery system, which later turned into Freemasonry, which the Europeans came over and learned. But just using the African mystery system, which is how we built the pyramids and how we built the almanac and how we did the things that we did.
Mm-hmm.
For us to understand how large the universe is and to understand how many different species and specimens there are just here on Earth, we would be naive to think that there are not other living beings and specimens in this large universe that we only in a speck of.
Real shit.
Like that makes man that much arrogant.
That's crazy. You even think that?
Yes, but you know where that come from? Religion. All that come from religion. It come from religion on God made the earth in 7 days. He made the people all living things in his likeness and this and that and this and that. That's where that came from. And that made man feel like we're just so much superior to everything. Oh, Adam, God made the lions, the beast, the this, the that, the that. But man stood up right so man could be over in charge of everything. It's bullshit.
Like we're the only intelligent species
exactly.
on Earth, yeah.
We are the least, probably most intelligent species. Listen, like I tell you now, with all the Harvard doctors and degrees and computers and everything you got, they can't show you how the pyramids of Giza was built. They can't show you how the Semitics and the measurements and how it's exactly aligned with the stars. Something where one stone is 3 tons. And it's perfectly where you can't even stick a piece of paper in between them. That's how it was perfectly made. And it's exactly in line with the stars. They can't tell you how that happened.
Talking about how it was in line with the stars.
All the intelligence we got and all that shit. They can't even tell you how that happened.
They said for you to do that, it would take a satellite to show you the direct coordinates to how to do that. And of course, it wasn't none of that back then. Exactly. So that's why they credited to ancient aliens. And do you believe aliens once came? Because I believe. But you know what? I think aliens was mentioned in the Bible of coming down in the biblical times to Earth.
So here's my thing.
Certain individuals.
So the Bible is false. The Bible is a fictional book.
We're going there. We're going straight into it. We're going straight into it. We're going to get straight to it. Let's do it. We're going to get it straight into it.
The Bible. Listen. The original writings came from the Book of the Dead, and you pulled out of that the Dead Sea Scrolls, or you want to talk about the 42 Negative Confessions or the Laws of Mayat. Mm-hmm. That's where all those principles came out, the 10 Commandments and all this. Listen, the Bible was written to do what it was supposed to do, which was, it was a guide of, just like with our ancestors, we had stories that taught us lessons. Yeah. So what happened was, once you got to remember, you had Europeans that came over, only could understand what they could understand because they didn't have the capacity to understand everything because they wasn't priests. So they took bits and pieces of greatness and they was bringing it back, and they saw how prevalent it was among their people, and they was considered geniuses, Einsteins and this and that. Yeah. But they was taking little teeny bits of what they learned from us and came over here. Right. Yo, I'm a history guy. We all know the Bible was written, well, the King James Version was written by King James. And what King James did is he had all of the top people at that time during that era come present the books. The ones he didn't like, he took out. The ones he did like, he kept in. The ones he wanted to alter, he altered. The pictures he put. Yo, the picture of Jesus is his brother. The picture of Jesus is his brother. And that's the
King
picture.
James?
Yes, King James. The picture of Jesus.
Blue-eyed, blonde
that's
hair.
his brother.
His brother.
His younger brother was a model.
I heard this. I ain't do the actual research. It said Mona Lisa was actually the nigga brother in the wig. And not actually a woman.
I never heard that.
That would have not surprised me.
What, King James?
Like
Mona Lisa,
the actual picture, like, it's not an actual woman. It could be a man. It could be a
man with a wig.
No, because you gotta realize back then they did that.
Shakespeare times. Yeah, Shakespeare.
They did that.
Men used to play the women.
No,
it
was men and men.
Queen shit.
Yo, they was on some gay shit. Listen, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Yo, that gay, they've been doing that.
Yeah, been.
Yo, I don't know if you watched. It was a show, and Kevin, you might know, Jamal. It was a show that used to come on where it was a spinoff of Gladiator, and every week they would fight. Like, it was a real popular show. I can't even before Game of Thrones, but the guy who was the biggest winner. And that night, if he won for that particular fight, just like in Gladiator, like you had the different groups that was fighting, they used to ask him, do you want a woman or a boy? Like, that was common. And then you remember 300? When Leonidas came over, was like, I'm not fucking with them Athens, them boy lovers. That's what they did back then. Yeah, Leonardo said, he said, I don't care about them boy lovers.
Yeah,
he was like, fuck them.
That was a real thing.
Yeah, that's in their nature. That's in their nature. And that's why right now it's a big propaganda. Right now. Because so many of them, that's what they are. And they just try to make it normal.
That's Roman times. They was doing that in Rome. And
man, they've been doing that since they started.
Right.
Since from their existence.
That's where the story of Sodom and Gomorrah come from.
Damn disease.
Sodom and Gomorrah, like God burned it and
once
and
again,
cursed them and stuff like that.
That
because
was
all
a
that
story
stuff, all
in
that
the
stuff
Bible.
was going on.
And see, that's what I'm saying. The Bible was created for the right reason, but used by the wrong people. Like the stories in Sodom and Gomorrah. Mm-hmm. Damn well. Ain't no city burn up, and then somebody was running away, and they said, don't look back, and they turned back, and they turned to salt. That didn't happen. What it was teaching was homosexuality is not natural and not right. Mm-hmm. All that was, they burned up the whole city because they were gay.
Yeah, because they were doing a whole bunch
of
things. Yeah.
And it was, if you look back, which is in their mind condoning it, because you're supporting it by looking, then you're going to perish too. That's what that story in the Bible was.
So you look at it like Aesop fables.
Yeah, it wasn't literal. Mm-hmm. It was something to teach you a lesson. But then these preachers saw that you can use that to control people and make money. It's all about money. All about money.
It's about that at the end of the day.
10% of your tithes and all this stuff. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Come on. You tell me a story. You tell me all through the Bible that Jesus never accepted anything and Jesus was this, and that. But the preachers that's preaching his word when Jesus was doing the work, but the preachers deserve the money? Come on, yo.
Yeah, they weren't getting. He would ask for offerings, but it would be
listen, why do
it would be different things. It would probably be like
food, and it was like food for this village,
or a lamb or stuff like that.
And listen, I tell you this: why do you think the only thing that the slaves were given to read was the Bible? It was all about the brainwashing, yo. They had slaves really believing that we were supposed to be slaves based off of the word in the scripture. In Deuteronomy,
you can use it to whatever code you want. That's
exactly.
The thing about it.
But that's why they gave us that, and they actually tricked out people into believing we were supposed to be slaves.
All right. Okay. So this is my thing. All right. So if we talk about religion, do you look at all religion like that, or because I know, because you got me to take pieces from different forms of it. Like,
religion
like
is
Hinduism,
false.
Or Buddha with the peace, or not eating pork from the Qurans and things of that nature. So how do you view other religions? Is it more so just because I know you more of a spiritualist?
Religion is
you
false.
Control people?
Religion.
So even Quran, like
religion is false.
Okay.
Are you an atheist?
No.
No, I just told you what he was. It's spirituality.
Atheist, no.
Spirituality.
Atheist is somebody who don't believe in the supreme being.
I still have to ask.
So here's the thing, bro. So religion is man-made. Spirituality is your relationship between you and the Creator. Yeah. No man can tell you how you should communicate with the Creator, because the Creator is a reflection of you.
Anybody can get it, that's where my mental at. This ain't just how I'm feeling, that's where you found me at. We was bumping no ceilings and fell in love with rap. Turning something from nothing, you gotta channel that.